defense, and you know this, it can be really difficult to tell what is a nation-state hacking activity versus what is a criminal hacking activity. Why is it so difficult to tell? It's the same people, right? We talked about those North Korean government hackers. Think about it. How much are they getting paid? What is the money that you're earning as a North Korean government hacker? Next to nothing, pittance. There is no money in North Korean government hacking. Now, they certainly are a well-motivated workforce, because we all know the consequences of poor job performance in North Korea, but they're not well compensated. So what is that perk? What is the benny to being that North Korean government hacker? It's that you get to take your cyber toolkit home with you nights and weekends and use it for your own personal betterment. And we see this not just in North Korea, but in Russia, China, all across Eastern Europe. Hackers that work for their government by day and then work as hackers for hire nights and weekends. Now, as a hacker for hire, they might be working for another government on contract. They might be working for one of these cyber criminal syndicates, traditional organized crime rings now using cyber means to conduct their crime. They might be working as a hacktivist. We certainly have seen a lot of hacktivist activity out there in the last 6 months. Groups out there like Anonymous, leveraging cyber means to make a political statement. Now, let's talk about what this cyber criminal syndicate activity might look like. And I'll give you an example that every single one of you in this room, I'm sure, sadly, are very familiar with. Your classic credential validation attack. Hacker goes out to the dark web, buys 10 million logins and passwords. These logins and passwords have nothing to do with you. These are the logins and passwords from all of the breaches we've seen over the last few years. Why does the hacker want all of these old logins and passwords? We know why, right? Because many of us are victims of that particular form of human frailty that causes us to reuse the same password again and again and again. I'm looking at you guys. You are experts in this. Why are some of you smiling? Many of us doing this. In fact, I will tell you, last night, some of us having drinks, great conversation. A woman in this room today admitted to me that she has been using Kittens25 as her password everywhere for the last decade. We had quite an in-depth conversation last night about the importance of unique, complex passwords. Get to the end of the discussion, she says, "Rachel, I get it. I'm going to add an exclamation point." Kittens25 now for the next decade. This is not good. But hackers know that we're lazy. And so they know that if they take those 10 million logins and passwords and throw them against your authentication gateway, some small but non-zero percentage of them will turn out to be valid. So that's what the hacker's going to do. Take those 10 million pairs, throw them against your internet front door, see what sticks. But how long would that take him? He'd be typing in those logins and passwords for the rest of his life. So what does he do to speed up the process? Goes back to the dark web and rents a botnet, right? Thousands of highly hackable endpoint devices all over the world. These are your Internet of Things type devices. Last botnet attack I observed turned out to be a horde of smart refrigerators. Imagine trying to explain that to my board of directors, that we were under attack by thousands of smart refrigerators, all coming at us, throwing those millions of credential pairs. Now, the botnet is not smart, right? I mean, it's a refrigerator. It's not that smart. But that's what the hacker's going to do, is script up an attack, have all those devices throw all those credential pairs against your front door. What happens if they catch a match? They're going to log in. In my case, that would be trying to set up bill payments, money movements, all the kinds of things that we all live and breathe to prevent. What's the moral of the story? Well, of course, it's not using the same login and password everywhere. If we could do more to educate our customers on password hygiene, I think that would be a huge benefit to all of us in these chairs today. And it also underscores the importance of, again, not relying on simply a username and password to secure anything that we care about. In 2022, those days are well behind us. Moving to mandatory multi-factor, if we learned anything from the pandemic, perhaps it was that. Last thing that keeps me up at night in this job, we mentioned the security around mobile devices. Mobile malware, and I know many of you know this, has been the bane of my existence for much of the last 5 years. A particular strain out there called Marcher really drives me crazy. So I know you guys are familiar with Marcher. How does Marcher work? Marcher starts by socially engineering our customers into downloading this malicious software onto their phones. Now, none of us are knowingly going to download malware, right? But, the malware doesn't show up as easily malicious. It doesn't come with a skull and crossbones on it. Instead, it's always going to present itself as something benign, something innocuous, maybe as a software update, maybe as a game. Marcher loves to pretend to be solitaire. So my customer thinks she's downloading the Solitaire app onto her phone only to discover later, right, that this was not Solitaire at all. The next thing Marcher does is socially engineer your customer into giving it admin-level privileges on her device. How does it get these privileges? It simply asks for them. We all download apps, right? And they want a lot from you. They want access to your contacts, your locations, your photos. You just click yes, 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 because you're gonna get on with using the app. Hopefully you don't do that. But if you did that in this case, you would give Marcher admin-level privileges on your device, which is what's gonna come back to bite us. Now, my customer is trying to log into her mobile banking app. She launches her mobile banking app, and Marcher detects this, throws up an overlay on top of her mobile banking app that looks exactly like what she's expecting to see. Same colors, same branding, completely identical, but commanded and controlled by the fraudster on the back end. She doesn't know this. She enters her username and password. Now her username and password are compromised, known to the fraudster. But it's what happens next that is particularly insidious here. Because what are we going to see when that fraudster attempts to log into her bank account? You all live and breathe this with me. We're going to detect this as a suspicious login, right? We're going to see this is not Rachel's IP address. This is not her registered device. Rachel's not usually in Nigeria. All of this is going to look strange to us. What do we do when we detect that suspicious login? Well, we send that one-time passcode text message, right? We send it, in this case, we send it to her the phone. What's the problem? Fraudster's on her phone, and because she gave him admin-level privileges on her device, he has access to her text message queue, can go in, pull out that one-time passcode her bank just sent, meet her bank step-up authentication challenge. He's off to the races trying to commit fraud in her account, can go back to her text message queue, delete that one-time passcode. She doesn't even know she was ever prompted.